This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. So we've got some dramatic rescue footage here of a couple who were stranded on a yacht off the coast of New South Wales in Australia just a few days ago. The footage is of them being rescued by the Australian police and search and rescue. The 19-meter sailing yacht, which was named the Spirit of Maritime, started taking on water due to a mechanical issue, which we're not sure what that is right now. But the couple who were on board was a 60-year-old man and a 48-year-old woman. They sent a distress call around 1 p.m. local time on the 3rd of September. It took search and rescue several hours to find the vessel in the meantime because of the very bad weather conditions. And whilst that was happening, the yacht actually lost power and the ability to communicate. And it was being battered by strong winds of up to 55 miles an hour or 90 kilometers an hour. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority Response Centre in New South Wales said a helicopter was able to find and establish contact with the couple via radio, but it was unable to retrieve them because of the heavy seas. Another rescue attempt was abandoned due to the rough weather also, leaving the two on board forced to enjoy a horrible night at sea, said the spokesperson from the rescue centre. Now, the New South Wales Police water rescue vessel Nemesis was able to make contact with them again around 1 a.m. the following day, on the Tuesday, and arriving at the scene 2 hours later. However, the extreme weather conditions prevented the crew from rescuing the people on board the yacht. The spokesman for the police described the conditions as terrible. The yacht had drifted 70 nautical miles overnight, and the people on board were unable to get the sails in place. They were unable to, move the vessel in the direction they wanted to go in. So they were eventually rescued, as you can see in the video, by the rescue services later that day. I think it was around 7 a.m.
Got one on board. Two.
But you can see in the video footage here that the weather was still awful when they finally were rescued. I assume that means that the weather was actually slightly better at this point by the time they were able to effectuate a rescue. The sailors were rescued, as I said, around 7:25 hours on the Tuesday, which would be the 4th of September. And they were taken to Sydney for medical treatment. However, they were described as fatigued but uninjured. The vessel, the Spirit of Maritime, has in the past taken part in several Sydney to Hobart races over the last 10 years. However, the yacht was left in the ocean, with the police spokesperson saying that the priority is to save lives and not boats. Good story, though, that people survived, right? All right, so we'll move on to our next story. We're going to address a subject from the previous video where we talked about the cause of death of Mike Lynch, the owner of the sailing yacht Bayesian, and some of his guests who also died. Now, in that last video, I said that I wasn't qualified to explain what the cause of death meant or what it was. However, in the video, we read from a report from Reuters that suggested that people may have been in some sort of air bubble and suffocated because of the way they died. Now, lots of people in the comments were saying that this was incorrect because you can die from something called dry drowning, etc. Like I said, I'm not qualified to say whether that report was correct or not. We were simply reading that report from Reuters. Anyway, as a result, we asked in that video if there were any medical doctors who could contact us to possibly give us an explanation in a way that we could reiterate to everybody on the channel. Now, because we don't want to start or encourage any conspiracy theories from misreporting any information, that's the reason why we want to do it. Now, also to those who say that there's some sort of morbid fixation on the subject, I would say that there is a genuine interest in the subject, and as such, it's important to get that information correct, which is what we're trying to do here. Now, very often conspiracy theories are born from vague or misinformation from the press. Anyway, I'll leave that there. But anyway, thanks to all the people who contacted us. We had quite a number of doctors email us with information. I have to say some of the explanations were hard to understand, and we've been going through it for some hours, and we believe we've got a handle on what everybody was trying to say, and we feel satisfied that we can relay it to you. Now, I think it's important also to understand that the term suffocation is a general term that is used in non-medical language, and all of the doctors who contacted us said that you could suffocate from drowning. So drowning is one form of suffocation, if that makes sense. Now, I'll read some of the doctors' names out who want to be mentioned. Dr. Fernando Marotta is a Brazilian forensic doctor with over 20 years of experience, and he contacted us with explanations of how they can usually tell exactly how somebody has died. There was a lot of detail. We'll try to put it all on screen here, but we're not going to read through it because it would take quite a lot of time. However, the gist of it is that he's saying, depending on what the doctors find, which is listed here, they can tell if somebody was, for instance, smothered, or if they were strangled, or if they drowned, or if they had some sort of chemical asphyxia, etc., etc. Now, in approximately 90% of cases, water is present in the lungs of drowning victims. However, that means that in 10%, water is not found in the lungs of drowning victims. And this is the reference that people were making about dry drowning. When water enters the larynx or trachea, both conscious and unconscious, people experience something called laryngospasm, I believe it's pronounced, in which the vocal cords constrict, sealing the airway, preventing water from entering the lungs. In the majority of cases, when the person becomes unconscious, this spasm eases and water eventually enters the lungs. However, in approximately 10% of cases, the person suffers cardiac arrest before that happens, and therefore no water enters the lungs, and this was sometimes referred to as dry drowning. So, of the 5 people all in one cabin who died, based on that, 90% would have water in the lungs and 10% would not, suggesting that 4 of them should have had water and 1 should have not, approximately. However, preliminary reporting says that none of the people had water in their lungs, of those 5 people. So that statistically is an anomaly. Now, Dr. Anthony Miller from the US, a retired doctor, said that rather than drowning, they may have experienced environmental asphyxia, a form of suffocation, where the lack of oxygen in the environment and increased concentration of carbon dioxide led to death. I hope that's helped some people to understand it a little bit more. It certainly helped me to understand, why they believe there was this air bubble based on the statistics as well. So anyway, thanks to all the doctors who contacted us. Really amazing response. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. All right, we'll move on to our last story. And this is Yacht Viva. We got some footage here sent in by a number of people of SuperYacht Viva having some trouble in Fort Lauderdale. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. The 94-meter or 308-foot yacht was built by Fedship. It's a new yacht built in 2021 and is just under 3,000 gross tons. So the footage doesn't really give us an awful lot of information. Had a lot of people sending links and saying any idea what's happened here. This is just outside the Hilton Hotel. It's in Fort Lauderdale, opposite Pier 66. I've been there many times myself. Now, the vessel got into some sort of trouble here and ended up pinned against the 17th Street Bridge there. Now, you can see in some of the footage the crew trying to get fenders and place it between the bridge and the vessel's hull. You can also see that the tide appears to be going out, which could have had something to do with it. However, the most likely cause of the yacht getting into this position is some sort of mechanical failure or possibly some sort of human error. It's unlikely that a yacht of this size could be pinned by the tide. People will say that that's not true and it happens all the time, but I don't think it does. Otherwise, we'd have lots of footage from that area. The yacht was eventually able to move herself off the bridge under her own steam and move away. Again, makes me think of some sort of mechanical failure. They had an issue. They couldn't get the engines into gear or something like that. And then, they drifted into the bridge, and then eventually they get things sorted out and they're able to move away. And that seems to, if I had to guess, that's what I would guess it was. But like I said, I don't know much information other than speculation. So if you've got any information about this, if you know, if you were on board, if you're the captain, maybe you want to set the record straight, please be sure to contact us. You get us in the email address in the ticker. All right, remember to check us out on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/esysman. You'll find many extra videos on there that will never come to YouTube, such as the Atlantic Vlog series and our recent trips to Europe. We're also preparing for a new one, which is not that far away, the end of September, the Monaco Yacht Show. So we've got videos about that and much more other things. We've also got extra videos on the Bayesian sinking as well. So check us out at patreon.com/esysman. If you've got any information for us about any of these stories or any others, please be sure to get in touch. You can get us in the email address in the ticker. You can get us on the About page of the YouTube channel. You can get us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Threema. Please be sure to like this video, very important for the algorithm. Hit the